Hello pipe community, Barepipe here. Welcome to episode 14. In today's episode, staining and bleaching the Kintsugi Ropp pipe. I made some plans for this one. It didn't quite work out the way that I thought it would, so I'm going to walk you through it just by way of introduction so you know what to expect. I made some new samples out of my Algerian piece of briar, and if you looked at my previous video you would have seen what I'm talking about. I came up with a recipe for a stain that I liked. The idea was to get a high contrast look on it. I then went ahead, bleached the pipe, and at the point that I bleached it, I had my first kind of just a little tweak in the back of my mind that maybe this is not going to work the way that I thought it was going to work, because the bleached wood from the briar on the pipe didn't behave in the same way that the bleach behaved on the Algerian briar sample. Now, who knows why that is? Maybe it's because this thing may be 50 years old. It may be just different batches of wood. For whatever the reason is, I didn't get that clear grain pattern emerging on this one in the way that I did on the sample. Now, my fears were confirmed as soon as I did the base coat of stain on this and I started sanding it. I realized that this pipe was behaving differently from the sample. The main difference was that I wasn't getting as strong a contrast on this as I did in the sample. So I changed direction. Instead of going for a very contrasty stain, I decided to go more tone on tone with this. And really the end result now is a reddish pipe with a dark red and a light red stain on it. The beauty of it is, and maybe in the end that's a better solution, is that the brass line really shines. And I realize now that actually if I had gone to the really contrasty look, I may not have actually had as good a look as an end result. Now, you may ask, does that say that the whole idea of bleaching the wood to get contrast doesn't work? I would say no, it does work. Here's what I think that happened. I took in my sample a piece of briar that had a decent grain to it. When I bleached it, it elevated that to a super high contrast. With this one, I took a piece of briar that had virtually no clear grain visible, and I managed to bring it up to what I would call now an average level of grain. So it still works, it still elevates it and still pops the grain more than it would if you didn't do the bleaching. Except the lesson is stay flexible, see how the pipe behaves, and do what the wood wants to do instead of trying to stick to your plan if you see that it's not going in the way that you thought it was going to go. So let me show you what I did. I got some bleach in a lovely tin. A tin whose shape most of you will probably recognize. So here goes. I'm just going to wipe it on. And it's basically letting the bleach soak into the wood. Man, this stuff stinks. Same as you would do with a stain. I don't know what the bleach is going to do to the brass. This is a real experiment here. I have no idea how this is all going to turn out. You can also do the top. And you can see why I put the cork in there, because I don't want lots of bleach running into the bowl. In spite of what I said in the last week's, or 2 weeks ago's video about the bleach evaporating quickly, I just don't like the idea of having it in the bowl. Okay, so I think that's good. The next step now is to let this sit for a few hours, let it dry, and once it's done, then we'll do a second coat. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this down like this and let it sit like that. The Ropp has been bleached and rinsed, looks quite a bit grayer than it did before. I don't know if you'd be able to see it on there, but there's a little bit of the original reddish color in there. So the next step now is to stain it. And I've been experimenting once again with stain colors after what I learned. I sanded down with another piece of wood and played around with a couple of stain colors on it. I landed on this one here, which is actually a bit of a complicated recipe. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do now. So let me mix it up. It's made up out of burgundy phoebings and black phoebings as the base color. Now I'm going to measure it out and mix it up because it's you have to be somewhat precise to be able to get consistency. So I'm going to do 4 milliliters of burgundy. The next one is the black. Now I'm going to need half a milliliter of black. So, how do I do my staining? I stuck a pin into the back, as you can see here. And you need a flame. So I've got my beeswax candle that I typically use for this close by. And I take a dropper. Sorry, not a dropper. A pipe cleaner. And it's a matter of wiping it on quite quickly, quite liberally. The quicker you can do this, the better, because you want to try and get it somewhat even, and you want to get it quite well on there. The more the better. And now the interesting bit, which is to flame it in, and then I immediately do it again, just to make sure we get it nicely soaked in. Now you'll see I cover over Kintsugi work, the brass. I don't care about it because it doesn't absorb the stain, so it will just come off quite quickly and quite easily. Usually I just wipe it down with a paper towel as soon as I finished flaming it, and you can see there already how the brass is coming back out again. Because the stain doesn't absorb into the brass. And as soon as I start giving this a light sanding now, the brass will just pop right back out again. I have mixed in a mixture of tan and burgundy phoebings dye, and I diluted it with some isopropyl alcohol. In fact, I think I'm going to dilute it just a tiny bit more, because what I want to try and get on this is a really thin coat of alcohol, of stain. Okay, so here goes nothing. Again, I'm going to use my my pipe cleaner as my applicator, and I'm going to do a very quick application. And flame it out. Okay, there we go. That looks good. So the next step now is an important one, and that is take a damp cloth that is dampened with alcohol and to wipe it down, because what I'm trying to do is actually put a very, very thin layer of stain on this. Actually, I'm going to put the stem back in because it's easier to work with it. You can see how much of it comes off when you look at that. See that? It's a way of just thinning it out. Because what I'm trying to do is doing a translucent coating on it. And this helps to keep it somewhat translucent. Here's the end result. So now it's been stained and it has been polished with Canuba wax. And you can see that sinuous line flowing through the pipe from one end to the other. The stain has got this dark red background color and then a tan highlight. It creates a lovely contrast with the brass line that goes through the pipe. I still have a little bit of work to do. I need to finish the stem, still need to repair the logo, I still need to repair a little bit of bite marks here, and then I need to put a bowl coating in the bowl so that it has a nice clean fresh start. But other than that, I'm really happy the way that this has come out. So until next time, happy piping.